Guys, welcome back to Skin Anarchy. We have such a special guest with us today. I am a huge fan of her content. I get so much inspo from her channel, just her reviews, and a lot of fashion actually, more than anything else. So very, very excited. So please welcome Marjan Tabibzada. Welcome, Marjan. So excited to host you.
I'm so excited to be here. That was such a sweet intro. Thank
Oh,
you.
no, it's from the heart, from the heart. I really am a fan of your content, and I love like you bring such a cool take because being a brown woman myself and growing up and never seeing us, represented online, much less like in a space where it feels like the person, like that influencer feeling, like we never had that. So it's really cool.
Isn't it so sad? I think it's so sad, but I'm really, really glad that we have so many more, brown girls, Central Asian, all of us Middle Eastern girls in that category are like really, we're doing it and we're killing it and we're in the spaces and it just makes me so happy. It really, really does.
It's awesome. No, it's freaking awesome because like what I was saying about fashion, like I just love seeing the fashion. It's like finally
Love it. I know, literally.
Yeah. It's
And
cool.
it does so well. It does so well. And it's like, I feel like we're in a space in content creation where like people want to see the culture,
Mhm.
because there's so many of us out there. So like, when I do like I'm going to my friend's, Indian wedding and it's a 3-day event and, I do, the outfits and the makeup looks, it's like they do so viral and they do so well because it's like we don't have that representation properly. And I mean, I hope I'm doing it right. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I love to see it.
No, it's awesome because it's crazy. When I was growing up, so I'm coming up to my 40th birthday and in November, and when I was growing up, Bollywood was that's it. So the only time you could see cool, amazing fashion from the East was Bollywood. I remember when a few of those movies came out, like Dave Das was one of them. Like
I
everyone
love Dave Doss. I grew up on Bollywood too, by the way.
there you go. I know it's so common in all of our cultures. We all watch it. So yeah.
I learned how to speak Hindi because I watched Bollywood movies, and it's funny because when I got brought into my fiance's family, they were like, "Whoa, she knows how to speak the language," and I'm like, "I'm not that good at it, but I totally understand everything you guys are saying, and I can for sure hold a conversation."
Your Bollywood taught you well. I love that. No, I mean, it's really, really cool. And that's really where I want to start, because your content really speaks to a demographic of women that we never saw ourselves represented, and I think that's amazing, but also like just curiosity, like where did it start for you? Like I know no one wakes up one day and says, I'm going to be an influencer. That's all I'm doing. So like where were you before any social media, any of that?
Girl, I worked at, so I basically was getting my degree for Bachelor's of Science in Marketing at Cal State Northridge.
Mhm.
I graduated with that. While I was getting that, I was working at MAC Cosmetics at the age of 18. I was the youngest at the entire department, and I worked at Nordstrom, so I was the MAC counter inside Nordstrom's. We had counter goals, we had department goals to meet, and again, I had no sales experience. I was right out of high school, so I was doing that. I was doing freelance on the side. Um, taking on brides and bridesmaids and prom makeup. I was on set. And then on top of that, I was like posting the content on socials. And so I really felt like I was doing like a bajillion different things. And I'm so grateful enough that, content creation really just picked up. It really just picked up. And when I graduated with my degree, I wanted to get into law school. I was like, that's kind of like the path that I want to take. But
Mhm.
TikTok was blowing up. We had reached like less than 1 million followers on TikTok. Instagram, we already had a significant amount of followers on there. So it was like a thing of like, I love doing this so much and I see some sort of potential there. So why not just see where this can go? And I'm so blessed that it's been a career for me that has been so beautiful. It really has been. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love that you had your time at Mac, because Mac like when I yeah, I mean because like when I first learned about your journey, I was reading, you were at Mac, and what is really insignificant it's really significant about that is that I don't know, like Mac has always been that brand that like celebrated like everybody, like we never had that conversation of like shade range with Mac. Like we were always like Mac is it. You know, that they know what they're doing. And so, I
I
would
think
love for
they're
you to.
one of the first, sorry to cut you off, but they're, I think one of the first that had like 50 shades of a foundation and like every shade of the foundation that you can think
I
of.
never felt like, I'm telling you, growing up, even like 2004, 2003, 2004, going into a Mac store, I never felt like I couldn't be matched. You know what I mean? And that's why it's like so meaningful, I think, for a lot of brown and black people, that brand, because we found ourselves there
Yeah.
before any other brand, like, and so I'd love for you to speak on that, like because you started there, and seeing diversity, and then how did you bring that into your content when you really started getting like that following?
Yeah, so with Mac, where when I had graduated high school, I was like looking for, my first job ad, and I had actually worked like part-time seasonal at like I think it was Abercrombie and Fitch. And it was just like a seasonal job, but like right out of high school, I was like, okay, I need a job, like I'm going into college now, like I have bills to pay for. I did not come from a rich family. Like my dad was a security guard. He worked two jobs, like he had six kids, and it was not a thing where I was like, Dad, I need money, or like, Dad, fund my college. No, like I was on financial aid, so I needed a job. And for me, like, I loved makeup so much. So I literally went into a Mac store and I was like, are you guys hiring? And they gave me an application and they were like, fill it out, bring it back. I did that and they're like, there's an interview process. You have to go. It was like the Mac store in Santa Monica and there was like 200 people applying for like these positions. I was
Wow.
so scared. And it's funny because I didn't even have my license at that time. My mom drove me and she was there with me. I was so scared because I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know what I'm doing, like I don't know. And at that time, I didn't know anything about Mac. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know product knowledge. I had only done makeup on myself. Like it was like I was learning everything off YouTube. Like that was
Mhm.
the thing, right? And I went into my interview and I feel like my personality and the way I dressed because she complimented my outfit. Like, I love your outfit. Like this is
Yeah.
such an amazing outfit that you're wearing. And interview was done. I didn't hear a callback, so I was like, I'm not gonna get this. Like it is what it is, whatever. She called me back. She was like, oh, by the way, loved you. We want to hire you. And I was like, oh my God, like this is insane. So that was my first job ever.
That's really cool. And I like that. I mean, honestly, here's the thing about influencers, and I think a lot of people don't understand is that like you really have to love this. Like you have to love. Like if you're in makeup or if you're in whatever you're in, like you gotta love it. Otherwise, there's no way. And I would love for you to talk about that because I think that there's so much misinformation in terms of like what it takes to gain a following. Like walk us through that. Like what was that like for you?
So I think for me, I always want to start off by saying at the end of the day, if you compare content creation to other jobs, it doesn't even compare. Whereas like, yes, content creation is not the hardest job.
Yeah.
It's one of the most rewarding jobs. You can work from home, you make your own hours. So I never want to compare it and be like, make it seem like our job is so freaking difficult that like, whatever. But I will say though that in order to be a content creator, and when I started content creation, there was no blueprint.
Yeah.
Okay. Content creation was not looked at as a career. To this day, right now, yes, there are agencies, there are PR people. Back then, that was like only for the actors and the actresses and the celebrities, right? There was no blueprint. You had to do everything on your own, And also at that time, you weren't getting paid. My source of income was coming from MAC Cosmetics, and I was getting paid $18 an hour or 17.50, something along those lines. And so like it wasn't a thing where I was like, I'm making all of this freaking money. I was not.
Yeah.
So when I did content creation, it's because I loved it. I loved it. I would go to school, I would go do freelance work. I worked at MAC Cosmetics, and content creation was literally just an extra thing that I did because I just loved it. And I loved showing my creativity. I loved showing people my different looks, all of that. So, like, yes, back to your point, you had to love what you were doing. That like point blank period, because you were not making a single dollar or dime that and even the amount of money that you're able to make now with content creation versus back then. It's
Yeah.
night and day
Yeah.
difference. And also,
It's
not to mention, I got into the industry when all of the OG YouTubers have already been established. So even getting on YouTube was so impossible because You had the James Charles and the, Desi Perkins and the I Love Sarais that were already dominating the YouTube industry. So like they already had, like they were the ones, that everybody's watching, and you're trying to build on YouTube. And I was trying to get on YouTube for the longest time, and girl, I was struggling, like nothing was working. So like it was definitely an industry back then to now is night and day difference.
Yeah, no, I believe you. And that's so interesting that you bring this up because I always wondered, I was like diehard follower of the YouTube era of
Yeah.
influencers. You know what I mean? Like I watched like every Jackie video, every,
Yeah.
like literally like
Jacqueline Hill, Carly Bybel, like those are my girls.
yeah,
What's
like
happening on
honestly,
TikTok?
same, dude, same. And I like remember just being like, what's gonna happen once they leave and they go start their own brands, do their own thing, like YouTube. And I started to watch it happen, but then I always wondered, I'm like, how are people compare, like, like, how do people compare you? Like, did you run into that when you started like really blowing up, where people were comparing you to like maybe their favorite YouTuber or like, I don't know, somebody they were just used to watching, before TikTok became big?
It wasn't, no, I never got to compare. I was never compared, to be honest with you. Like I never dealt with that. Yeah, no, like I honestly never dealt with that.
But like no, not like compared like to a person, but like to like like what came out of YouTube. Because the thing is like the content you guys started, like your generation of influencers is more short form. You know what I mean? It's more digestible. It's not like the 20-minute videos anymore. So like how was that for you in terms of like because you said there's no blueprint. You were watching the YouTube videos. How did you manage that and like navigate making your own kind of style, like video length and like how to deliver and all of that stuff that, we never hear about. Yeah.
Honestly, it's all trial and error. It is
Yeah.
literally all trial and error. There will be hundreds of my videos that have flopped, girl, and you have to pick your butt back up and keep creating the content. There were so many times where I would be like, this isn't working, or like I would have my depressed moments, I would have burnout moments,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, when you have a passion for something, like there would be moments, girl, when I would be sleeping and I would wake up in the middle of the night because I had a video idea and I would jot it down in my notes. And then
Yeah.
the next day I would make the content. So it's really like when you have that passion for it, even when you are down in the dumps and it's not working, there's something in you that like you still get up and you're like, it's okay. We're gonna make something different. We're gonna do a whole new series, or we're gonna try something completely different. And I think that's sometimes really hard for creators to understand that like just because something isn't working, you change the direction.
Yeah.
And even figuring that out, I know is difficult. It's definitely not as easy because you're like, how, and like what, but like you just got to try new things.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, I know that makes a lot of sense. And I know it's like a weird question, but honestly, like, I wonder, because I've watched like your content and I'm just like, how do you, because I couldn't do it, like I would be like so confused. Like,
You
how do I, what
could. No,
people,
you could.
yeah,
You
yeah.
100% could.
No, I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, it just looks like there's so much you have to understand, in terms of like where's your audience gonna like actually pay attention and where are they gonna trail off? And that's actually one of my questions for you is because your content really does resonate with so many people, so many women like across the world, especially like when I feel like as a brown woman, I've been underrepresented and I'm sitting in America. You know what I mean? So like for the women who are more international viewers of your content, I know they identify, with you. And so like where like talk about that a little bit in terms of like how does that work and like how do you manage those? Do you get like emails from them or like messages where they're like, "Hey, listen, I love what you're wearing. I just couldn't wear that where I'm from." Like something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, 100%. And I feel like with me even, I feel like there's so much that my audience relates to when
Mhm.
it comes to the cultural aspect of things.
Yeah.
When I do my Eid get ready with me's, like that's something that people are like, "Oh my God, finally." Or even, I mean, at the end of the day, I make content based off of what works for me and what could possibly be relatable to my audience. And there will always be someone that either doesn't like it or it doesn't work with them, but that's okay.
Mhm.
Like that is okay. Just because one outfit that I wear is too crazy doesn't mean another one that I make, you can't wear it. And there's been so many For example, outfit videos that I make or get ready with me videos, I try to take more of that modest take on it. Or, I'll be like, listen, this is like a completely sheer dress. But you guys know we are the brown girls where we can't really show, we can't be that revealing. So let's
Right.
make this a little bit more modest. And I think that resonated with a lot of people too, because it'd be like, wow, I love that you can take something so like skin, revealing and, make it so conservative where like girls could wear that. Something that they could never think they could, but wow, you actually made it where we could actually wear that now. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I was asking about because I know like that's tough, because as I can speak as Indian women, we never saw ourselves like, represented in all the different styles and all the different ways. So it's like it's really interesting to watch, in terms of like, oh, like we're like discovering fashion in a whole different way, even though we have our professional fashion outlets as well. If you go over to the East, like we have our fashion shows and stuff, like it was never seen the way Americans grew up, watching their fashion represented. So I think
yeah.
that's very cool. Yeah.
Oh, a 1000%. And I think we are also seeing a shift in content where and maybe the next trend coming up is really just that transparency and
Mhm.
also seeing cultures being represented in a way where it's not the norm that you normally see, where like I feel like maybe 5 years ago it was always about the makeup tutorials and fashion stuff, but now I feel like bringing in that cultural aspect into it because it's like there are so many people on social media, and there's so many of us, the Middle Eastern, the Central Asian, the brown girlies, but it's like that representation isn't really there. And I feel like now that you're slowly seeing it, I do feel like there will be a shift of like, oh wow, that content creator, I can relate to on a deeper level because, those are fashion things, those are makeup things that, relate to me as someone that, isn't, a white girl.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, that's the thing is like the way it's actually opening up a lot of avenues for the younger generations. Like I am just so excited when I see like younger girls, like 15-year-old, like you're discovering like who you are, your
Yeah.
identity, blending your cultures, and then to be able to have content that you can kind of understand. It's like a blueprint. It's
And
the blueprint
also
that we never had.
feel like
Yeah.
maybe like a couple of years back it was embarrassing,
Mhm.
because it's like people didn't maybe share it because they were embarrassed or they didn't think people would care for it or
Yeah.
things like that. But now that you're seeing, creators talk about these things, and I feel like the younger generation is seeing too, and I feel like it's a sense of proudness as well. It's a sense of like, oh my God, yes, girl, like I want to wear my traditional outfits and I want to, show that I'm wearing a sari to a wedding because it's so beautiful, And so like just
Yeah.
things like that that I feel like I'm just so happy to see the representation. I really am.
Yeah, no, it's really, really, it's really cool, and it's a really cool time to be like on social media. I think, in my opinion, like even though like the YouTube era had like an immense impact, on culture, like on Western culture and everything, and that will be always be what it was. But I feel like right now, social media has become so easy to find your person on here. Like you can find that one creator that's going to really resonate, and I know a lot of young people get like life advice, like genuine advice about like how to live and how to deal with situations. And I would love for you to like kind of speak on that in terms of because I feel like there's so much responsibility that's put on your shoulders when you have a following of like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, like it's really something that you do, I'm sure, internalize and deal with. So I'd love for you to speak about that, in terms of like being a responsible creator, making sure that your content is like something that people can really feel is evergreen and makes a lasting impact.
I feel like that's one thing that I struggle with sometimes, so too. Because I feel like when you have so many eyes on you and you go from like 1,000 followers to now millions of followers, there is that sense of responsibility that comes from, speaking out on specific things or, just whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And sometimes I feel like influencers get this really bad rep of like, if you post about things, you get really hate for it, and if you don't post about things, you get hate for it. So like finding that middle ground, I feel like we honestly still struggle with. And it makes it where like it's very, very hard to talk about things when you know that as an influencer, you just there that stereotype of like like oh you just live this lavish life and like whatever like it's just like we don't really like we want you to talk about it, but also when we give the opinions and we say it's just never good enough.
Hmm.
So I feel like that's something that is also hard for us because it's like at the end of the day we're also human and sometimes we don't know how to talk about things. We
Yeah.
don't know how to say it in the most perfect way, and just because we don't doesn't mean we don't relate or that we don't understand. But that definitely is something that I feel like I struggle with. I'm not gonna lie to you. And something, recently happened to me where, I spoke out about something and you're getting good and you're getting the love and the hate. So it's really you're just sitting there like, you're kind of like if you do it, you win, and if you don't do like I'm sorry, if you do it, you lose, and if you don't do it, you lose. So like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
definitely something that I feel like as influencers we struggle with.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. And it's interesting because I watch all this hate. Like I honestly like I'm just sitting online most of the time trying to wrap my head around like why people come at influencers so hard when in reality you're out here, you're sharing your life, you know what I mean? You're giving people a sneak into what they wouldn't have the courage to do. Like a lot of us wouldn't have the courage to put our life on the internet. That's
Mm.
just a fact, you know what I mean? And I would love for you to speak on this because there is a lot of hate online. There's a whole cancel culture movement. There's this whole like doesn't matter how good of, like you could do 90 things that are amazing and you do 10 things that are maybe like whatever and it's like people want to cancel you right away. Like I would love for you to speak about this because I think it really really matters right now, and I hate seeing it. So,
I absolutely hate seeing it. I feel like cancel culture is brutal. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It is so
yeah.
brutal. It's like and then getting canceled for like the littlest things.
Yeah.
And I feel like and I feel like genuinely sometimes cancel culture just comes from, groups of people that just have already not liked you. And then
Mhm.
they may find one thing that you're doing wrong and they're like, oh, this is the moment, and they get that moment. And it's unfortunate, but I think at the end of the day, um, and I can speak only for myself, is when you know and you're true to yourself
Yeah.
and you just know your heart. And for me, I'm always like, God knows me, God knows, my true intentions on whatever a situation can be. Like I just leave it to God sometimes. Like, it is what it is.
I hear
What can you do?
nothing. That's
You
that's
can't
why
really, you can't do anything.
yeah, you can't do shit, and I think that's what pisses me off. Like that's what pisses me off the most about that whole thing is like you guys sit and you become keyboard freaking warriors over like okay, I would understand if it's like a controversial topic, right? Like a lot of creators post things that are like, they're meant to stir up the pot, meant to stir up a conversation, but like I am seeing so much nonsense just about like appearances of people. Like the most like honestly, I would say like passive aggressive racism that I've ever seen in my life in these comments. And I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, do you not understand like what you guys are spreading? You know what I mean? Like when you do
My
that,
God, bro,
yeah,
when me and my husband got married,
yeah,
I was like, what is wrong with people?
yeah.
What is wrong with people? Because I feel like with us, like this is also another thing, right? At the end of the day, like for me personally, like I receive so much more love than I do hate.
Hmm.
So it's like I also don't usually let it get to me because I feel like I have such a good community and such good supporters that like it's just noise at the end of the day. And also when you are in this industry, as people like to say it, like that's just how it is. Like that's what you signed up for. So okay, uh, I'll give that to them. But when it was my wedding and I posted, because like I need to keep in mind, I'm Afghan, my husband's Pakistani. And obviously, there's just so many differences politically in that the way that people, like, I literally couldn't even imagine some of the things people were saying. And I was
Yeah.
like, the audacity, it's like, I cannot stop what is, happening, in other countries, and it's like, like what are you guys expecting me to do? Like I like literally like was like, what do you guys expect? And they're like, people would be like, oh, you married the enemy. Like, how dare you marry the enemy? Or how dare you not marry like an Afghan person and like things like that. And I'm just sitting there
Hmm.
like what?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
You know?
That's why I asked you, man, because
I couldn't believe some of the things that people were just like, how dare you marry that person that's like you're the enemy of the country or da da da. And I'm like,
yeah.
what is wrong with you guys?
Yeah, no, because it becomes like a forum for people to like unleash their hate, in all aspects of life. And it's like, I don't understand how we get like, I mean, I don't, but I know there are a lot more people now that at least I'm seeing than I saw like 10 years ago. Like maybe I was blind 10 years ago and I didn't notice it as much, but like lately, for some reason, every time I go into a great creator's comments, I mean, Marjan, some of the things are like, when you're commenting on women and their appearance, when you're commenting on people's like eye color, when you're commenting on like I don't just the most absurd crap, I'm just looking at it and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
you should never give any influencer any hate ever in life because you guys go through so much unnecessary crap. You know what I mean? In terms of like, yeah, there's a lot of good, but yeah, it's a lot of criticism. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Trust me, girl. I have seen those comments. I've been a part of those comments. But again, at the end of the day, it's like if you just allow those comments to take over, you're going to go into such a dark place that getting
yeah.
out is going to be very difficult. And I'm so grateful that I have been in this industry for like 10 years now, where now I know how to filter all of that out and just realize like okay, say what you got to say. And at the end of the day, I've read it all, I've seen it all, whatever. And also, I always say if you don't have haters, you're not really winning. You're really
Yeah.
not. If you're not being talked about in positive and in negative ways, like you're really not that you're not that sorry, you're not that relevant. So I give it to me all. I don't care.
I
I'll
love
take
that. No,
it. I'll take it.
I love that attitude. No, I'm with you, and I'm always cheering you on. I think you're brilliant with your content, and I think here's the thing. I really want to ask you this because I feel like we're now headed in a new direction when it comes to certain things with like the whole influencer scene. I know there's a lot of like activities and like collaborations you've worked on that are very very meaningful, and I'd love for you to speak on this. Where it's like, where do you think the influencer industry is headed when it comes to the intersection with beauty? Like I know that. For example, I'll give you an example where everybody was doing brand activations, right? Like activation trips, like, going overseas. That blew up for a long time. Now we're seeing a lot more like they want more candid. Like, where do you think this industry at large is headed? And do you think we're repeating the same thing over and over again? Or do you think it's getting, I don't know, progressing, I should say?
I think it's definitely getting progressive. I feel like the industry for influencers is blowing up like crazy. I mean, did you see Cannes Lion? Like
Yeah.
insane, like a couple years ago, nothing. Now it's like, I mean, I think literally like influencers really run the marketing of brands on such grander scale things. I mean, I can't say too much, but even this weekend alone, one of my biggest dreams is coming true, okay? And it is a moment in where like something that years ago you're like, there's no way. But really the opportunities that influencers are getting and but also you have to also understand that these opportunities don't come if influencers wouldn't they're not really getting or showing the results that they're showing to brands.
Hmm.
For example, I did one video of my phone falling 10 floors off the St. Regis building, okay? That
Yeah.
video has has a million people like that video on TikTok alone, a million people. Okay, people in the comments are like, this is the perfect ad for Apple.
Yeah.
This is the perfect ad for like if like whatever case you use, I need to know it because I need to buy it. So like, and at the end of the day, like who watches commercials nowadays?
Yeah.
Who watches, even when you're on on YouTube, I want to skip the damn ad. I don't want
Yeah.
to see the ad, you know, but really people trust the influencers. And when you relate to a content creator, it brings such a powerful take on why brands should work with you, right? Because you have this source of trust. So I really see the influencer, industry just continuing to just blow up in like ways where like I think we're gonna possibly get rid of celebrities and we're gonna be the faces of pretty big branded stuff.
Yeah, I definitely can see that because like there's so much like that. I saw that video by the way that you're referring to. Like this is brilliant. Like I know it happened, but this is really really brilliant. And
It
it's like
was it was actually crazy. It
yeah,
was
no,
actually crazy.
that like literally, yeah, like that is like something where it's like that's the kind of content that we never get. Like I feel like ads, I always wonder this, but I'm like, whoever is like managing ads on like Meta, like you need to learn something from like what's going on. Like, how do you really make things like actually pop and be interesting to people? Because we still have this like gap between like traditional marketing and like where you can tell it's fake, nobody cares, and then what
Yeah,
influencers
yeah.
do is like so different. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to fill that gap, that understanding gap, and I'm actually curious, like, what are some brand deals? I know because at your stage, like, you have millions and millions of followers at this point. What are some of the things that you really screen for in a brand deal? Like, what really matters to you versus red flags that you're always trying to avoid? It doesn't matter who it is.
I mean, for me personally, I feel like authenticity starts, long before a contract does, with a brand. And, the first question that I always ask myself is, would I genuinely recommend this, this if there wasn't a campaign attached to it? And
Yeah.
I feel like the best partnerships are really the ones where the brand, already fits naturally into my routine. And those collaborations, don't feel like advertisements. They feel like sharing something that I had already been talking about. So that's really how I distinguish between like, do I want to work with you or do I not want to work with you? It just really has to fit into like my content.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I just like wonder because I know I like, and this is I'm like nowhere near where you are, obviously, but I remember getting an email once and like it was wild, right? Because this brand was like, not only do we want you to promote this product, we want you to make up like ratings for another brand
Oh,
and rate them badly. You know what I mean? And then it was like, and these were like major brands. Like it wasn't like, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like, if I got this email, and I am like literally not doing this at all, right? And it's like if I'm getting this and this was a legit brand, I wonder what people are really getting, where it's like, where do you as, having your platform draw that line and say like, okay, I will even no matter who you are, you know what I mean? I'm not crossing this line. Like that's
I,
kind of
I would
that's what
never.
I'm
I would.
asking.
Yeah, I could never do that. I could never be like, if a brand, thankfully, I've never had a situation like that where a brand's like, this is the deal, but we need you to lie and say that this changed this part of your skin or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
I would never say yes to that because at the end of the day, if you think about it, right? If people are buying the product and it's not working, they're going to comment or they're going to say, this is bullshit, girl. Like, Marshawn, you completely
Yeah.
right about this. And it's like, I don't want to I wouldn't want to deal with that, and I would never want my followers or the community that I've built on trust to feel like they can't trust me anymore because then what is the point? What is the
Well, that's exactly why I'm asking you because here's the thing, not everyone is, where you are, right? So there's like I feel like there's this subculture that's developed over time where it's like, the smaller content creators are like, well, I just want to get to this level.
Mm,
Like I want to have like 3 million followers or whatever their goal is. And they're like, I feel like I have to do certain things to get there. And I would love for you to like give advice to that demographic of like, how do you stay true to yourself and how do you like kind of like pass up on the money if you have to, but you stay true
I
to who you are because of what you were saying, like the trust aspect.
I
So,
don't think doing that is going to get them to any level. I think it's going to hold them back because your audience is so smart. Just
mhm.
audiences in general, people are so smart. They can find BS so quickly, and not to mention we're also in a day and age where everybody has access to the same products, and like you make a video saying this worked on you, someone else will be like, girl, that is a lie. That did not work on me, you know? And if your audience is picking up that like you're just lying and it's a facade, they're going to know that. Like,
Mhm.
trust me, people on socials know when somebody's BSing. Like, there's no way to get around it. And there's no way of trying to level up when you're just lying to get your way because it will always come back full circle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's such an important message though, genuinely, because I feel like what influencer culture did for a lot of people was like this like just terrible understanding. I feel like it's just such a misunderstanding that it's like you become an influencer and you're instantly rich. And so it's like now we have so
No,
many influencers. Yeah.
that is the biggest
Yeah.
misconception. And I will be here to tell your audience that right now. Just because you make content does not mean you're going to be rich. I
Mhm.
was making content for years before I ever got my first brand deal. When I got my first brand deal, they paid me maybe like $1,000.
Mhm.
Okay. And that was like them asking for like a bajillion videos, a bajillion reposts, a da 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 da. Like that is so not true. Even when I was making a couple brand deals here and there, I was still working at MAC Cosmetics. I was still freelancing. I was making more money doing freelance makeup as a makeup artist on the side for like 6 to 7 girls than I was on social media for years. For years.
Yeah, see, that's exactly what I wanted to hear from you, you know, like that genuine feedback because like I worry so much about the youth, you know, because there are like a lot of people, I don't know if you've seen these videos, but like I swear the other day I saw a video and this girl was going, I'm not even bothering with college. Like I'm not gonna go to college, I'm not gonna do anything.
Don't do
I'm just gonna
that.
get in.
Don't
Yeah,
do that. And again, look at my example. I still got my degree.
yeah,
I still graduated. I still was like, I'm getting a degree. You need a plan B. Okay.
yeah,
Content, let me tell you something, okay?
yeah,
TikTok got banned almost like 4 times. Okay. All of these content creators have millions of followers. Let's say TikTok got banned. What the hell would you have done? What would you have done? Like you need a plan B, whether that's, I mean, even another advice that I love to give is make sure that you are making content on more than one platform, okay? Your
mhm,
source of income and content should not just be, for example, on TikTok alone. You know, we and that was something that I learned from the start. That's why we have a platform on Instagram. We have over
mhm,
1 million on Instagram. We have over, millions on TikTok. We have almost several millions on YouTube. We have a Snapchat series. Like you cannot rely on one platform because as we have seen time and time again, platforms come and go and you have to be able to transfer everything. Threads just came out. Like you have
yeah.
to be able to be relevant on several different platforms and you cannot rely on one at all.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you said that. And I feel like that's so like there's a real business strategy to this. That's really what I was like trying to get at with my question was like that's where I think a lot of people don't realize. You know, like okay, you might be starting off and you might be blowing up, but like there's a strategy that needs to be here, you know, and a plan in place. And you cannot replace proper education with anything else. Like that's my belief, you know? Like I feel like you need in something in life you need to be educated, whether you're going to college, whether you're doing something like you got to have something that it's more than social media, you know? And I feel like a lot of the youth they just fall into that trap of like screw it. And you know who I blame honestly for that is all of the bros, like the Silicon Valley bros that like, you know, no, seriously, because they're like out here and they're like, "Oh, I'm a high school dropout." And I'm this and this and this. And I'm like,
But see,
dude,
at
do
the
you
end of the
not?
day, there's
Yeah,
some stories that, okay,
yeah,
there's outliers, there's stories that, 1000%. I have several family members that did not go to college, but they are millionaires right now.
hmm,
They are killing it. So, yes, I- sure, but I always think that there needs to be, yes, like you said, a strategy, a plan, and it has to make sense.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, when you are in your 18 and you're 19 and you're 20, like you're dreaming, but when you start getting, older, now you're 25, 26, now you're getting into 30s, like real world sets in where you're like, wait, I may get married one day. My husband may not be, may not work. Or God forbid something happens and they get injured. You're responsible. You have kids now. What if your kid has a disability? Like there is real world problems that actually end up happening, and you have to financially be ready for that. Some
Yeah.
people are blessed to have rich parents. A lot are not. I was one of them. My dad was a security guard. He, worked two jobs, trying to feed six kids. So like it was not like a thing where like it was like, oh, I'm gonna just go make content and I'm gonna make bajillions of dollars and I'm gonna no, and I was also a part of that era where TikTok was getting banned, and I'm like, shoot, like we have like 3 million followers on here and gone in a night.
Yeah.
So now you have to figure out, now what are you gonna do? Like what's plan B?
Yeah, that's really like that's what it is like I feel like you got to build your skills in some way. You know what I mean? If that's not school for you or if it's not college, that's fine, but like there needs to be some sort of a skill you're building over time. That's genuinely what I feel like. And I think a lot of times the youth just thinks like if I have an iPhone, if I'm sitting in front of my phone making content about, I don't know, eating pizza, like I'm gonna just turn into an influencer. Like I've seen that. I've seen these videos and I'm just like, guys, what are we doing? Like let's go to school. Let's
But
go back to college.
the thing with me is I never, but see, some could make it though.
Yeah.
And so I think there's it's like it's this thing, there's also like pretty culture. Some
Yeah.
people blow up just because they're pretty. That is a very, very real thing. I have seen it time and time again. So it's like everybody's situation and scenario is different. And some are blessed to become overnight successes,
Yeah.
period. Others, like me, have had we have worked day and night. It has been a long time to get to places that I want to be. But I'm so grateful that I have been able to stay relevant for almost every single era of social media now, right? So again, strategy comes into place. You have to know your audience. You really have to know what you want to do. And, also you need proper teams. Back when I started, there was no blueprint, there was no blueprint. Now that there is blueprints, there is a lot that goes into place. There is managers, there is PR people, there is agencies, like there is a whole bunch of stuff. And also keep in mind, in order to get into those rooms, you have to be able to show that you have something to offer.
Yeah.
So you can't just be like, I'm a content creator. That's fine. But also, so are a lot of people. This industry also has become very, very saturated, and you have to be able to be like, you have to kind of stick out nowadays, also.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can imagine how competitive it is. And it's really, no, I have a lot of respect for like the influencer, like, just community at large, because I know it's really, really tough. And I think that's why I asked you that question when we started off was like, like kind of walk us through some of your war stories or something, because I know it's tough. And I really hope that whoever's wanting to go into this, like they understand that. Like anything else, this takes work, it takes dedication, it takes consistency. Like you can't skip over that part, that kind of thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah,
No,
and it's
yeah, go
sometimes
ahead.
my husband wanted to get into content creation. Like sometimes he'd be like, "Oh, like," and he'll try it, and he's like, "I don't even know how you're doing this. This is way too hard for me." But he's a
Yeah,
doctor. He's a dentist, and he has an established career. And even him, he'd be like, "Oh, like content creation, like whatever." And then he would try it, and he's like, "Babe." Like just standing and talking in front of a camera is such an awkward thing, and it's so cute because I would do a trend like we went to Miami Swim Week and I was doing a trend with him, and it was like he had like 3 words he had to say and he couldn't do it, and he's like
oh,
in the mirror like practicing, and it's so cute, but he's like, babe, like this is actually really difficult, and there's also a sense of like, as a content creator you have to have the phone this in public, in private, and that's also a sense
I
of
don't know how you do
like
that. I don't know how you
you
guys
have
do
to be able to be like in an airport and you're like, hi guys, and like not be
it.
embarrassed that the people next to you think you're a psycho, or you're like, you have to do things like in the moment, and there's also that fear that like, some people can't do, but if you want to do it, you have to do those things.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for keeping it real because that's true. That's so true. And I'm curious, like, what have been some of your favorite, like, I don't know, like maybe like brand collaborations or just opportunities you've gotten, as you've progressed on your journey?
Oh my gosh, my first billboard in Times Square, what was that? Last year, I think that was.
Mhm.
and it was three billboards right where the ball dropped on New Year's. And I was just like, oh my God. When you don't have that representation, or when you are not the ideal candidate of someone that should be on a billboard in Times Square, and to see, us being represented or having those opportunities is like such a surreal moment. And it makes me emotional. I don't want to cry, but like it makes me so emotional because it's like you look back on times and the hard work and the dedication that it took, and being able to be a part of those opportunities is just like it's so surreal, girl, and when we went to New York and we like saw it, and it was like so massive. Oh my God. And I was just like, I cannot believe that's me on a billboard in Times Square. And we went there again at night, and I was like, this is crazy. And I'm just blessed. Or, when you go on brand trips, like we literally went to Paris with Clarence, and like, even being able to fly like business class and first class. And these are just experiences that like I don't ever want to take for granted, or I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed to even be in spaces like that. I think it's amazing. So,
I
yeah.
love that.
So I am the face of the campaign for Sephora in Times Square for the entire month of July.
Oh my God.
I am the face of Dermalogica's campaign, yeah, in Sephora. So I'm literally, after this, I'm flying out to New York to see the billboard. It runs every 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes, we
Wow.
run for the entire month of July. I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
I'm so
That's
excited. I
beautiful.
have been
Oh
so
my God.
emotional. Like, you have no idea. I have been crying almost every single day because and it comes down to like the fact that like I look back at my career, and I just think about like I was that girl that like grew up with six siblings. My dad, like you just think about that, like we did not have the easiest life. I did not come from a rich family. When I would go to New York and I would go to Times Square, I would look at these billboards and I'd be like, there is no way
Yeah.
that I could ever see myself there, because I'm like, I don't have the resources. How would you do that? How would you even make something like that possible, coming from the backgrounds that, some of us have.
Yeah.
It was always like a dream, and I would be in rooms where I felt like I was looked at like,
Yeah. Yeah.
girl.
I
Like,
know.
okay, yeah, billboard. Yeah, let's put that in as a goal. But like,
Mhm.
who's gonna put you on a billboard? Like, who's gonna put you on a billboard? I
That's
don't
great.
fit the stereotypical like model, look, or whatever. So, for it to happen, I just look back at my um just my life, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
It's so
And
well
I'm just gonna be
deserved.
crying the whole time
No,
because like I
it's
cannot.
so, so well deserved. You are such a beautiful human being, and your content resonates with so many of us. And I am so excited for you.
Thank
Seriously,
you.
from
And
my heart, congratulations, dude.
thank
That's huge.
you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
really, I give it all to all of the girls out there in the world that, have these dreams and these goals, and they don't think it's possible because they're living in situations where they're like, struggling, living with, families where it's like so difficult to put food on the table, and you're just like, oh my God, like this is a dream that I have, but there's just no way there's no way there's a way. There is.
like it can't, like that's honestly like what I had asked you, like when I remember asking this question earlier in the interview where I like that's exactly it, right? Because like there was a post you made and I swear I was bawling for 5 minutes watching it over and over again, and it was like a simple post, but like you were just, it was just words on like two pictures, and one of the bottom picture was a woman that she full hijab, like she couldn't like do certain things, and like you were like you're writing like don't complain about little things, like think about everybody that cannot do this and can't have this opportunity. And I think that's, to me, what stands out so much about you is that you're putting this in a place that like a lot of women are going to see, and they're going to be like, that's me, like that really resonates with them. They can really understand like oh, this is an actual thing that can happen, in the world. And that's so, so powerful, dude, like on so many scales. And I'm so glad that Sephora is doing this, first of all. That's amazing, so yeah.
It's it's been something that I've had to keep a secret for like a good 2 months now, and it's happening literally tomorrow, and I'm so grateful. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And I'm I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy. It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait.
You're gonna kill it. You're gonna kill it, and it's gonna
Thank
be amazing. I'm so
you.
excited for you. No, that's beautiful. I'm so excited. And yeah, I just want to wrap up the interview, Marjan, just by asking for you to kind of give some words of wisdom, for all of the young ladies out there that are, trying to make their way through life and the world and navigate this whole crazy social media scene, that's happening right now. Like any words of wisdom you can offer about like where to start, what to do, how to like keep yourself going, motivation.
Yeah, I would tell people to stop waiting until they feel ready.
Mhm.
I think a lot of us believe we need to have everything figured out before we start, but that's rarely how it works. I didn't have any answers when I started creating content. I learned by doing, by making mistakes, and really by staying curious. And sometimes you just have to start and trust that you're going to figure it out along the way. So do not wait. Just start. And that has nothing to do with content creation. That's with anything, anything. Like we as women are so we really can do anything. And I think maybe there's like this stigma of like we can't, or it's harder for us. Like it's not. And I think age is just a number.
I love that. I
Possible.
love that. Yeah, it is just a number. It is just a number. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's awesome. And I really, really just I love your content. I hope you keep
Thank
going
you.
forever. Yeah.
You've been the sweetest. You're such a joy. Like I just
Oh, thank you.
talking to you.
No, I love these kind of like just normal conversations. Like I love just being able to sit down with women and just talk, just talk. I feel like women don't get to talk a lot. We don't get to like learn about each other enough,
Oh,
and
we
it's
don't.
so cool. It's so cool to learn about what you stand for and like, who's behind the content. So this has been very cool for me to get to know you a little bit.
Oh, I had the best time talking to you. I felt like you were a friend.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I'd love to do it again if you ever have time. So
Always. Thank you, my love, and you have a wonderful day.
you too. Take care.
Bye.